coming up on Carolina Week.
No, I had no idea. Literally zero clue.
With low turnout on election day, what you need to know to vote for the next student leaders.
We are paying taxes, we are really hard workers, and I know that some people can be bad.
Communities react to Trump's immigration crackdown and the potential legal effects.
I've been a registered voter in 3 states and never had a problem until now.
Voters' emotions run high as a North Carolina Supreme Court candidate seeks to throw out 60,000 ballots. The latest developments.
From the UNC Hussman School of Journalism and Media, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Hello on this rainy morning and welcome to Carolina Week. I'm Madeline Amati.
And I'm Akshay Gokul. Carolina students have until 5 p.m. today to elect next year's student government. Our reporter Ben Mihaljevic is live in the student government suite with some updates about voter turnout. Ben, what can you tell us about these upcoming elections?
Hi guys, as you can see, I'm here in the student government offices at UNC, and the elections are actually going on right now. There was a small issue last night with the ballot, a little error for maybe 10 minutes, but a new ballot was sent out and voting will continue as normal. Now, unfortunately, voter turnout has been low. According to the School Board of Elections, only about 7% of the eligible electorate turned out to vote last year. Junior Jake Beliveau said he didn't even know that there were elections this week.
There could be like more advertising, like maybe putting up posters or people like talking in front of big lecture halls or something like that. Announcements maybe across campus, maybe like an email, through like all our Outlook because we're all connected.
Noah McKenzie and Rotimi Kukoi, candidates for senior class president, said that they're doing everything they can to combat this low voter turnout.
So we've been focusing on building a team that's that 80 or 90 people that specifically on election day can help us. So those 80 or 90 people, we've intentionally asked some that are in the audiences that we want to target.
We want to represent more than just a small subset of our singular major or singular experience. We want to capture as many people as possible. So that's really what's happening here. We want to represent a ton of interests. And so 7% is a daunting figure. Hopefully with our community and our trusted messages, we can bring that up.
I reached out to Kate Miller, the third candidate for senior class president, but she declined to comment. Back to you, Akshay and Maddie.
Thank you, Ben. We'll be sure to report the results of the election on next week's show.
In other university news, Chancellor Lee Roberts is doubling down on his plans to, quote, comply with immigration officers carrying out an immigration crackdown. His response comes after the ACLU condemned the chancellor, calling his statements, quote, deeply troubling. In a response letter from last week, Roberts says he's following the law. He also indicated that UNC police will verify the credentials of immigration agents if they appear on campus for enforcement. The ACLU was one of several organizations that spoke to students and faculty on campus Friday. Some shared fear about the idea of encountering ICE on campus. North Carolina ACLU Legal Director Christy Gronke said it's an incredibly scary time for the immigrant community.
They have a right to speak out against their chancellor when they disagree with his decisions and to make their displeasure with his decisions known. And I, think that is a really important right that people can exercise in this moment.
We're not going away. Students with mixed statuses, undocumented students, students on DACA, students on student visas, we're not going away. We're here to get an education and use that education in order to make our communities a better place. And there's nothing you can do to take that away from us.
Leaders of Siembra UNC asked not to be identified by name because they're concerned about student safety on campus amid the ongoing immigration crackdown. Carolina Week reached out to the university requesting to speak with Roberts, but university spokesperson Kevin Best said that Roberts is not available for an interview.
In an update on our coverage of Durham Public Schools, one principal tells us students are missing school in fear of potential ICE raids. Principal Victoria Creamer of Creekside Elementary says this first occurred last week during a Day Without Immigrants protest, when 20% of students stayed home from school. Creekside Elementary has about 35 to 40% Latinx students. Creamer is expecting more absences in the months to come.
The fear is absolutely there, and I'm seeing that in our attendance rates, and I'm seeing that in our families and in our students.
In talking with Creamer, she also says many parents are also opting for carpool rather than the bus system due to the potential raids.
President Trump's latest immigration policy change raises concerns for the Venezuelan community in the United States.
Right, and this is especially pertinent right now because in 54 days, nearly 340,000 Venezuelans will lose their temporary protected status. Since 1990, the status has allowed people from unsafe countries to live and work legally in the U.S. Maria DiCarlo immigrated from Venezuela 6 years ago. She is 9 months pregnant and has a teenage daughter applying for college. She says she isn't anxious about losing her protection.
We are paying taxes, we are really hard workers, and I know that some people can be bad, but it is less than those who came here to work.
Changes like these have not only raised concerns for people who have experience with immigration themselves. Orange County District Attorney Jeff Neiman says he worries about the broader impact on public safety.
And if they're worried that coming into court means that they're going to come in the front door to testify and out the back door in custody, they're not going to show up.
Classes focused on diversity will no longer be gen ed requirements, according to an email from the university. This announcement comes after President Trump signed an executive order to, quote, end illegal discrimination and restore merit-based opportunity. UNC's executive branch co-director of DEI, Alexandra Versace, says the move is affecting students.
If students want to hear from a speaker, learn about a certain topic, and the professors bring in someone or teach about something that is of interest to these students, the students can do so at their free will, but it is not something that can be required.
Now, Versace says that student government is using its links to administration to help represent students who say they're concerned by the change.
Are there things that we agree on? Are there things that we can disagree on? How can we come to agree on things that we disagree on? How can we change certain things if we can? How can we give this information to the students?
Other executive orders have caused similar wide-reaching changes at institutions across the country. Earlier this week, the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, reported on X that they terminated nearly 90 contracts, primarily in the Department of Education's research arm, as well as 20 grants associated with DEI training. DOGE says it cut over $1 billion in spending during the first 3 weeks in office. Department head Elon Musk set $2 trillion in government spending cuts as his goal during Trump's campaign. President Donald Trump says DOGE will also examine the military this week for an expected hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud and abuse. One of those budget cuts, $900 million taken from the Department of Education. And this could cause strain for financial aid programs right here at UNC. This comes on the heels of President Donald Trump stating his desire to eliminate the department and let the states run schools. Last week, this shutdown could impact students across the country. The department is responsible for approximately $120 billion in grant, work study, and loan funds each year, according to the Department of Federal Student Aid. At UNC, 74% of all undergraduates applied for aid, with the average scholarship or grant being over $14,000. We reached out to the Office of Scholarships and Student Aid and Media Relations. They reiterated the university is closely monitoring all new executive orders and directives.
Coming up after the break.
Every one of us is a singular person that wanted our voices heard, and that is currently being denied.
Controversy as Jefferson Griffin continues to challenge 60,000 votes in the race for the state Supreme Court.
And we would load up the helicopter, and so we had missions every day.
Is still going above and beyond months into Helene recovery. This and more when Carolina Week returns. Welcome back to Carolina Week. Now, Akshay, it just feels like it won't stop raining.
I know, right, Madeline? I mean, it's also, not only is it raining, but it's also cold. I walked here and my hands turned red from just how piercingly cold it was, and I honestly hate it. I want it to be spring. I wish that groundhog had said something differently the other week because I'm over it already.
Yeah, now don't worry. We'll continue complaining about the weather soon. But for now, we'll be focused on a state election that has caused quite the controversy.
That's right, Madeline. Judge Jefferson Griffin is appealing a Wake County court ruling that said the State Board of Elections was right to deny his request to throw out over 60,000 ballots from the 2024 election. Aisha Frazier was outside of the courthouse in Raleigh, where protesters rallied against the case.
A sense of confusion and anger for voters outside the courtroom.
And right now, we can't be silent. We've got to share what is going on in our nation.
Inside the court, oral arguments in a case challenging more than 60,000 election ballots from last year's election. Its most recent attempt by Judge Jefferson Griffin, a Republican, to contest the North Carolina Supreme Court race against Democratic incumbent Allison Riggs. Griffin argues the challenge ballots were improperly registered because they didn't include identification. The majority of the ballots target military personnel, early and overseas voters. According to the State Board of Elections, Griffin lost to Riggs by 734 votes. The result has been recounted multiple times, but the legal back and forth has delayed their confirmation. UNC law professor and legal expert Theodore Shaw believes Griffin's actions are a threat to democracy and people's right to vote.
We have to fight to protect that right to vote.
Riggs argues these issues are about constitutional rights.
No matter how long this takes, I am committed to upholding the rule of law, standing up for the voters who elected me to keep my seat.
Griffin told Carolina Week that he can't comment on pending litigation because it would violate the Judicial Code of Conduct. Many of the voters who cast the ballots in question ended up on Here, an online list known as the Griffin List. Amongst them is Marlo Donato Kalb, a UNC law student. She says this case has left her feeling devastated.
People in general shouldn't be on this list, and I don't really know what to do to fight back against it.
The lesson has to be to make sure that your vote, in fact, has been registered properly, cure any problems that might exist.
Reporting in Raleigh, Aisha Frazier for Carolina Week.
The court date for the appeal is to be determined. Now, for some news of what's going on at the legislature right now, North Carolina Republicans are eyeing new gun laws for the state. In the Senate, they are moving forward with a bill that would allow North Carolinians over the age of 18 to conceal carry a gun without a permit. Right now, you must be 18 years old and carry a permit from a sheriff's office to conceal carry a weapon. A similar bill is being discussed in the House. However, the House bill would allow elected officials to carry weapons into legislative offices and buildings in Raleigh. Both bills have some restrictions, like convicted felons and people with history of mental illness would be excluded. According to the U.S. Concealed Carry Association, this would make North Carolina the 30th state to recognize constitutional carry.
Over 130 EPA employees in Raleigh may be losing their jobs. This was announced in an email sent to the agency last week, according to the American Federation of Government Employees. The federation says that around 1,100 EPA employees nationwide received this message. It says that employees could be fired without notice if they worked for the agency between 1 and 2 years.
North Carolina lawmakers are hashing out the details of a bill that would send $500 million to Western North Carolina for hurricane relief. Governor Josh Stein asked for $1 billion last week for urgent rebuilding efforts in the region. This bill filed by Republicans only covers half of that. It would be in addition to the $1 billion lawmakers have already put towards Helene funding. It includes funding for road and bridge repairs, home reconstructions, and local farm support, plus $55 million for small businesses and $20 million for state agencies' debris removal. It leaves out funding for schools. During a Tuesday meeting, Republican Committee Chair Representative John Bell, the bill co-sponsor, said both Republicans and Democrats were committed to working together to support Western North Carolina.
Samaritan's Purse travels around the world providing relief to towns and communities that have been affected by a natural disaster. The nonprofit never expected to send their help to the community they call home. Bethany Pryor spoke to Samaritan's Purse employees in Boone and Wilkesboro about what they have done and are doing since September 27th.
Behind me is a trailer that is used for natural disasters. Samaritan's Purse sends these trailers all over the world, but they never expected to have to send it to their own backyard.
We had a couple of disaster relief units like the one behind me ready to deploy into Florida and Georgia. And as we saw, the damage was horrendous here in Western North Carolina. We decided to put 3 units here.
Units are located in Boone, Asheville, and Burnsville. Each is equipped with all the supplies needed to help a town recover from a catastrophic storm like Helene. These trailers were accompanied by helicopters loaded with supplies that went into hard-to-reach areas.
He asked me to go with our 407 chopper down to Asheville to Radiant Church to help with taking water out to people. That then, when we got back, kind of mushroomed into a full aviation really response, moving anything from generators to heaters to blankets to winter kits to jerry cans on different sizes of helicopters.
Samaritan's Purse sent hundreds of helicopter missions in the first 20 days after the storm.
185 airlift missions, which was the largest, I believe, civilian airlift of aid in American history.
Bridges were down, roads collapsed. You could not access people. It was a true emergency. I mean, it was familiar to things we do in the world, but here it was in our backyard. And truly, the only way to get to people was flying in.
They sent dozens of helicopters, from small ones to Chinooks, carrying more than 700,000 pounds of supplies as part of helping their neighbors and families recover.
The impact was so great that neighbors were helping neighbors right away, but so many had lost so much themselves, and yet we're trying to help.
Western North Carolina is still on the road to recovery. People are still displaced, and Samaritan's Purse is providing temporary mobile homes while volunteers help rebuild houses for those who lost everything. Elliot Willis is the Disaster Response Program Manager, and he told me what else they're doing to help rebuild homes.
Inside of the ones that go to home sites, there's racking and there's different spots for all those tools. Right now, there are, I think it's 4 right now that we have that are completely empty. So think of the U-Haul exactly. There's nothing in there. Those will be used for moving furniture, helping to put supplies in there so that they can, those that need them can take them from point A to point B.
This is a trailer that Samaritan's Purse is sending out all over Western North Carolina right now. These trailers are used to help rebuild homes. They house power tools, chainsaws, ladders, everything that you need to help rebuild a house. In North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, I'm Bethany Pryor, reporting.
Thank you so much for that reporting, Bethany. Akshay, it looks like it may have stopped raining. I was watching Rise and Shine, and I heard that Valentine's Day might be pretty nice out.
Ooh, that would be nice to have a nice little picnic right out on the quad and a nice sunny day. I'm already ready to get my shorts back on.
Well, Carolina basketball has definitely had some ups and downs, just like the weather outside.
That's right. What can we expect, Cameron?
Well, just like Maddie said, this week we have some basketball wins and disappointing losses. But UNC Athletics also earned some very exciting awards. Carolina Week will be right back after this.
Hi everybody, my name is John. Today we will be doing a presentation. Who are you? Thank you.
How have you been?
Okay, so you can see here that
Welcome back to Carolina Week. Let's throw it over to Cameron Ely to get the complete midweek update on all things Carolina sports. Cameron?
Thanks, Akshay. Let's dive into UNC men's basketball's disappointing loss on Monday.
The North Carolina men's basketball team traveled to Clemson on Monday to face the 23rd ranked Tigers in a pivotal ACC matchup. Coming off a narrow 1-point victory against Pittsburgh, the Tar Heels looked to build momentum. The Tigers came out firing, particularly from beyond the arc, with forward Victor Lakin leading the charge. Lakin posted an impressive 20 points in the first half, going a perfect 4 for 4 from three-point range. Despite R.J. Davis's 18 points, Carolina struggled offensively, while Clemson maintained its hot shooting. The Tigers connected on 50% of their three-point attempts, shooting 12 for 24. Clemson secured the victory 85-65, dropping UNC to 7-6 in conference play, but still on the NCAA tournament bubble. Women's basketball traveled to South Carolina on Sunday, hoping to continue their success against the Clemson Tigers. The Heels were in a back-and-forth battle with the Tigers from the start. Renaya Kelly's 9 points combined with Carolina's stifling defense to tie the game. But 2 layups by Clemson's Loyal McQueen in the last minute of the second quarter pushed the Tigers to a 2-point lead at the half. Maria Gottden got the first score of the half with a quick drive to the hoop for a layup. But it all came down to the last 45 seconds of the game. The tie was crushed by Kelly's jumper, securing Carolina's 7th away game win. After dominating JMU and Liberty this weekend, UNC women's lacrosse received their first ACC honor of the season. Defender Sam Forrest was named ACC Defensive Player of the Week after only allowing 3 goals between 2 games this weekend. In addition to her defensive success, Forrest scored her first career goal against Liberty on Sunday. After their 15-6 win over Michigan, UNC men's lacrosse also earned their first ACC Defensive Player of the Week since 2021. Michael Gianfrancaro was awarded this award after his outstanding performance on Saturday. With 6 ground balls and 12 stops, the Princeton transfer earned double-digit saves for the 24th time in his career. 10 former Tar Heel lacrosse stars are making history in the newly launched Women's Lacrosse League. The league debuted yesterday with the Maybelline WLL Championship Series, with Carolina alumni from 2017 to 2022 suiting up for 3 different teams: the Boston Guard, Maryland Charm, and California Palms. This 4-team tournament is set to run through Monday, featuring 6 of Carolina's undefeated 2022 national champions. Tune in to Sports Extra on Friday for a preview of another exciting weekend in Carolina athletics. Carolina Week will be back after this break.
Welcome back. Akshay, I've got some good news to help end out our show.
Oh, what is it?
Well, students will soon be able to get meal swipes from their peers. Carolina Dining Services will pilot the Swipe Out Hunger program. Students with a meal plan will be able to donate 1 swipe of their plan to a fund that allows students who need swipes to pay for a meal at the dining hall. The initiative was presented by members of UNC's executive branch and has been supported by the university administration and the Board of Trustees.
Now that is just a great program. I know our friends down the street at Duke have a similar program called Feed Every Devil, and it has been wildly successful. And I think it is great that we're embracing the Tar Heel spirit and showing up for one another in community through this program.
Absolutely, and that was an executive branch decision and
That's
initiative.
right.
And today is election day for student body president and other positions. It's so important to vote.
Absolutely. Be sure to vote. You only have until 5 p.m. today.
Absolutely. That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Make sure to tune in to our Spanglish newscast, Carolina Ahora, tomorrow at 8:45 a.m., and we will see you next week.